External agencies which may be involved in the investigation of workplace fire. 1. Fire and Rescue Authority to determine possible causes of fire and to take enforcement actions if this thought to be necessary. 2. Police, if the cause of the fire is determined to be arson, and to proceed the criminal investigation against arsonists. 3. Enforcing agency, for example Health and Safety Executive, HSE, for enforcement matters under RID or in case if there was a fatality or fire involved in electrical or chemical gas explosions, etc. 4. Environment Agency, to mitigate any pollution which may be caused by the fire and its consequences on broader environment. What is the reasons for maintaining standards of fire safety in organization? Moral reasons. Fire incidents often result in injuries, fatalities, permanent disabilities to employees and other persons such as visitors, member of public. Fires can cause structural damages to other organizations, public properties, and can cause a lot of nuisance to general public. The impacts of fire on humans are the most compelling reason for maintaining good fire safety culture in an organization. Legal reasons. There are many fire safety requirements stipulated by regulatory reform, Fire Safety Order 2005, which makes it mandatory for an organization to have structured fire safety management in order to comply with its provisions. There is also common law implications such as duty of care owed by employer to employees, which the employer needs to satisfy to avoid any prosecution and any criminal liabilities such as enforcement notices from authorities. Financial reasons. Fires can be proven disastrous for businesses as there are huge financial losses associated to these. Cost of buildings repairs, loss of assets, property damages, loss of business orders, lost workdays, decline in market share, fines, penalties and increased insurance premiums are some of the consequences of a fire incident. To prevent such losses, an organization would always strive to have a safe and secure workplace to control any fire risks. What are the pollutants at a chemical manufacturing site? Smoke and carbon solids, for example soot. Gases such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen cyanide, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. And toxic fumes from the burning or release of chemicals. What is the procedure for investigating a fire that is suspected to have been started deliberately? The procedure would include preserving the fire scene for examination by cordoning off the area to restrict access, locating and excavating seat of fire, taking photographs and drawing diagrams for later references as visual aid to investigation, interviewing relevant peoples, for example employees, witnesses, emergency caller, etc. Obtaining CCTV footages, records of attendances, records of entries of any visitors to the site. Liaising with other enforcement agencies, for example police and HSE and insurance company. Obtaining information about any past vandalism on the site, site history, police activity, etc. to establish the connection and the motives for the current incident. Analysis of all the collected evidences to determine the causes and reporting. What are the documents fire inspector may require during his inspection? Fire risk assessments. Fire safety policies. Records of fire drills. Emergency floor plans. Emergency evacuation plans and procedures. Staff fire evacuation awareness trainings records. Inspection and servicing records for fire detectors, fire alarms and fire extinguishing equipments. Copies of records of fire incident, near misses. Records of previous inspections and evidences of remedial actions taken. Identify the pathway how fire can enter the water ecosystem. 1. By means of the surface water drainage system on site. 2. Through the foul drainage system contaminating the sewage works beds. 3. By water run-off to ground and into brooks, streams and rivers, and 4. By airborne contaminants deposited in precipitation. What are the key elements of a fire safety management system? 1. The fire policy. 2. Organizing. 3. Planning and implementing. 4. Monitoring performance against agreed standards, and 5. Reviewing and auditing the management system. As far as the content of each element was concerned. 1. The fire policy should set out the commitment of senior management to fire prevention and clearly identify who has responsibility for fire safety management. 2. Organizing includes the appointment of competent persons to undertake specific fire safety roles such as fire assessors and fire marshals/wardens. Arranging for effective cooperation and communication between the appointees. Arranging for sufficient consultation to take place with employees on fire safety matters. And providing means for implementing fire safety arrangements such as the allocation of responsibilities, the provision of protection systems and the preparation of written procedures. 3. Planning and implementing elements should include the identification of hazards and the assessment of the associated risks. An evaluation of current prevention and protection measures with the preparation of an action plan for introducing additional controls where they are deemed to be necessary. The preparation of procedures for fighting fire together with arrangements for controlling dangerous materials or substances. The preparation of written fire instructions. And the provision of training, instruction and information to employees, contractors and visitors. 4. The monitoring element is concerned with checking performance against agreed policy and procedures and will refer to the various proactive and reactive monitoring methods that are to be used. 5. Reviews will be necessary at periodic intervals and after incidents to assess whether changes need to be made to the existing arrangements, while the purpose of a regular audit by a competent internal or external auditor is to examine each part of the fire safety management system and assess its effectiveness and its compliance not only with the organization's fire safety standards but also with industry best practice. What are the key point fire safety inspection checklist? The exit routes and gangways clear and the necessary signage in place and visible. Fire doors working correctly and neither damaged or blocked. Fire extinguishers located in their correct place and fully charged. Call points accessible. Assembly points unobstructed and clearly identified. Goods appropriately stored so as not to impede firefighting. Hot work permits used where required. Electrical equipment used safely. Fire safety training provided for staff. Evidence of regular testing and maintenance of fire safety provision. What should be considered by the fire and rescue service before starting an investigation? An important initial issue that would need to be considered would be to preserve the fire scene and secure it by restricting access to unauthorized persons. Then it would be necessary to make the site safe, ensuring the isolating of electricity and gas supplies and taking into consideration, for example, the condition of walls, floors and ceilings and the possible presence of chemicals. A decision would have to be taken both as to who should form part of the investigation team dependent on the particular skills that would be needed and the equipment that would be required, such as excavation tools and cameras. Witnesses would have to be identified and interviewed and a study made of available CCTV footage. Arrangements should be made for communicating with the public and the media and for liaising with other interested bodies such as the police, HSE, the Environment Agency and the local authority. Describe the reporting of injuries, diseases and dangerous occurrences. 1. Fatality or major injuries, for example fracture, amputation, loss of sight etc. 2. An injury or ill health due to which an employee is away from work. 3. Dangerous occurrence such as explosion etc. which has suspended the operations. What is the fire safety policy? Procedures for the identification of hazards and assessment of risks. The current measures for prevention and protection and an action plan for introducing additional control measures found to be required. The information to be provided to employees and others. Procedures for keeping a fire safety log and for reporting incidents. Arrangements for controlling dangerous substances. Procedures for fighting fire. Arrangements for the provision of fire safety training and for carrying out fire drills. Details of evacuation procedures should a fire occur. A description of the roles of those with specific duties such as responsible persons and fire marshals. And in a multi-occupancy building, arrangements for cooperation and coordination between the various occupiers. Describe the role at the Environment Agency during a fire incident. Environment Agency might attend a fire incident if requested by the Fire and Rescue Service to work in combination with the service in an attempt to prevent pollution resulting from the fire. They might give advice to the service both on pollution at the site of the fire and on flooding and flood risk in the area. Additionally, they might supply pollution control equipment and materials if necessary and available. How to minimize the potential environmental impact of a fire at a major chemical plant. The location and quantities of chemicals and materials on site. The properties of the chemicals and materials and the availability of neutralizing agents. The location of man-made or natural water sources and surface water drains. Water table levels on site. The existing primary methods of containing materials such as tanks and bunding and the location of shut-off valves. The lie of the land and the expected flow pattern of run-off water. The location of interceptors and means of isolation if foam is to be used in fighting the fire. The location of areas which would be suitable for use in containing firefighting run-off water. The proximity of neighboring plants and the community. What are the main duties of the responsible person? To appoint competent persons to assist in complying with the requirements of the order. To make a suitable and sufficient fire risk assessment, reviewing it when necessary to keep it up to date. To make arrangements for the planning, organization, control, monitoring and review of the preventative and protective measures and make a record of the arrangements. To ensure that suitable detection and alarm systems are installed in the premises, that it is equipped with appropriate firefighting equipment and that training in firefighting is provided to the employees where required. To ensure there are adequate emergency escape routes and that training and information on their use is given to the employees, and to cooperate with other responsible persons where premises are shared.
Please give comment and suggestions.
Thank you.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for more updates. Thank for visit our channel. See you next class.
Thank you.